Hello, welcome back to Creative Matthew. As you can tell, I like tigers. But anyway, we're going to do a charcoal tiger. I did one of a line that I took a little bit more time, but trying to make it a little bit more, give it a little bit more of a realistic feel. It's not going to be like completely realistic, but still. And I did a tiger last time that was, it was still a little bit more, I guess, cartoonish than it was realistic. But it followed more realism than some of the other ones that were more like almost kids cartoonish. Like, not that's a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. It's more of what you're going for. Those ones are kind of meant for that. But anyway, it's enough talk. Let's get going. So we're going to go ahead and just start shading, giving it some value. Value meaning light and dark, and it's that value following the form that helps give it that three-dimensional look to where it looks like it's actually like right now it looks like it's a drawing. It's flat. There's no real value to it. There's no real shape. Now you can use line width and like how dark or light it is to try to emphasize, like if you make this thing dark, that emphasizes that, hey, that's in a shadow area or that's a darker area, and you can use that to give your line work some dimension, but it's still limited. But when you actually render it out, which is where you're using value, and if you're making it with color, using value and color and temperature and things of that nature to give it some volume, to give it some either realistic feel, or if you want a expression, something of that nature. Enough talk, let's get going. It's now November. Time is going fast. Hopefully it goes fast in wintertime. Wintertime's not my favorite. I like the summer. I like I like late spring. Those are the times I like. Not a big winter fan. I'd say I like fall, but our fall seems to be weird. It doesn't, like people said that we haven't had an actual decent fall in a long time, where it's just been, hey look, it's summer, really hot. Oh look, now it's freezing cold. It must be winter, even though it's technically still fall. Oh, there's really something with that nose. That nose is a little off. Fix the drawing. A little too long compared to the other side. I mean, the other side's supposed to be a little foreshortened, but it's not that foreshortened. It's a little bit better, but still not quite where it needs to be, but it's good enough. We'll leave it. So what's other people's favorite time of year? Because that also varies on where you live. We had somebody that just came from San Diego, who he was in San Diego for about 2 years, around there, and now he's back here. He's like, yeah, San Diego, nice weather, there's a certain temperature all year long, and I come home and it's freezing. I don't want to put too much here because it's, I mean, it does. It's not completely light, but it's a little darker than the paper, but not by a ton. So I'm just going to do something like this. And really just start it. That reminds me, I keep forgetting there's some white here. So let's mark where the white is. And you can erase charcoal, but if you rub it in hard, like I'm doing with the blender tool, it becomes really hard to erase. Now, white charcoal is hard to get up, so it doesn't erase as easily. looking forward to Thanksgiving? Even if you're vegan, I'm sure you still eat a lot of what you really enjoy. So this stuff's already marked. Of course, you want to be in control of your appetites, not let them be in control of you. Like if you have to have your coffee, if you can't, or you have to have this where you literally can't go around without it, then you might want to look into actually either giving it up or at least getting it into better control, because that's not healthy. The only thing that we have to be relying on is if we have some sort of medical condition, and then you actually wouldn't be relying on a certain medication. But even then, sometimes you can, there's some things that you can kind of work on without. For example, just, I don't know, depends on what the problem is. I'm not a doctor, so don't ask me, ask an actual doctor, because they've had many years of experience and of actual learning and stuff like that through school for a very good reason. If you think you can understand the human body just by Googling it, I dare you to try some CME, which is what doctors have to do every year. Try doing one of those tests that say, okay, here's what they have, diagnose it. Try Googling it and see how close you get. I'm confident that you won't even get anywhere close. It's a lot harder than you think, because the human body is so, like, we can't make something like it. We have yet to make something that can actually heal itself. We've yet to make something that can do anything close to what the human body can do. Even the androids that we build and stuff like that still don't compare. I might need to put in the spots because it's hard time seeing the lines afterwards. Then again, I can always just redraw them, but I don't want to have to redraw them when I've already drawn them. The lighting's kind of flat. There's not any strong lighting source. The reference, I'm talking about the reference, and yes, I'm using reference. Most people do. Professional artists will use reference if they have something that they've drawn a lot of. Like, I can do a pretty decent tiger face from front on without reference now, because I've been doing it so much. But if I wanted to do the body, I definitely need reference, because I don't draw the body very much. Which is something I need to actually work on and improve, so that I can do the body without having to be so reliant on reference. So what do I want to do for that? Don't want to spend too much time on this thing, so I want the focus to be on the face. Where's my white pen? There's this little mark on the ear, though I have the ear a little different than what the reference is. Don't be slave to your reference. It's something Aaron Blades likes to say, and it's something I learned from not just him, but from somebody else. I did a test, a digital skin tone test, because back when I used to struggle with skin tone, I never quite get it right. And so I'm like, alright, let's just do a digital test. I did digital because it's a little quicker and I can experiment and really get to know what I'm doing, in the sense of, okay, these colors don't seem to work very well with this type of skin tone or this type of skin tone type scenario. Where if I was using that traditionally and doing it with watercolor or something like that, I'd have to pretty much be using it paper after paper after paper. And I'm on a budget. I can't do that. I mean, these little gray, tone gray pads that I use, some people just use them as a throwaway sketchbook. I use them for my more finished pieces and just use newsprint as a sketchbook, or just plain old the cheaper white paper sketchbooks or something, because these things are a little more expensive. They're still not super expensive. They're not like the fancy sketchbooks. I have one where it's like nicely covered and stuff like that, but still they're more expensive than what I can just afford. I can't really afford to waste it. This part's pretty dark on the ear. And you notice it does lighten up when I blend it. If you didn't want to have it lighten up, you could always just leave it. Keep that still in frame. You notice that has a little bit of a texture. Little charcoal pencils, and then just, let's see, where is it? These things, fine charcoal and willow charcoal. These are smaller willow charcoals. You can get a huge willow charcoal stick. Those will have a little bit different texture than the pencils. They come on a little smooth, and it's the softness of that charcoal. You can have a charcoal pencil that's pretty soft too, and they'll come on a little different. These are blending stumps. They have a specific name. It's like Tor or something. I can't remember what they're called. Let's see. I have a book here that might tell me. Right here. A tortillon. Tortillon. I don't know where that name comes from. It makes me think of food, like a tortilla or something. Tortillon. Torta. Whatever language that originates from, they're probably like, oh man, come on, you can do better than that. But anyway, it's just a special, it's like paper wrapped really tight into a form of a stick, into a form of almost like a pencil. And it's just designed to blend the graphite or the charcoal or colored pencil, but unless like colored pencil is doesn't seem to blend as easily. So I did a little colored pencil piece. I didn't record it. This one I'm not sure if it's worth recording a lot of things, because so far I only have 5 subscribers. If I don't get more subscribers, it's gonna be like, you know what? I don't know if this is worth it. This is to get my name out there. But if nobody's seeing it, that doesn't help either. So let's do the nose. The nosy. First do this part next to the nose. Let's get a different whatever it was called. Tortellini? No. One that's a little bit more fine point. So. Take my eraser. Where's that tortellini? I think that's a little too far over. One nice thing is you can adjust things in charcoal. Or if this was watercolor, then it's like, alright, I guess I just have to live with what I have. I mean, you can lift up some stuff with watercolor, but you're still limited in what you can do. One thing I learned, if you make these lips a little too even, like it's just almost looks like just a solid line, it looks a little too cartoonish because there's fur right there, and that fur is not so even. This on the side, using some of the charcoal that's still left on the blending stump to add some color, not color, some value to it. These things have some white right here too, some pretty bright white right there. And where's my white? I try to keep the ones I use for the black and the white separate, because otherwise it just makes it make sure it's still in pretty good focus. Using the side of the pencil in this case. The white is a lot brighter on the camera than it is in real life. It's not quite that bright in here. more subtle in here. I think it looks better on camera though. I like that little brightness of it. See, how long has this been going? 20 minutes? So this is what art is. It's just not some sort of fast thing you just get done. I mean, there's some things you can do pretty quickly, but if you really want to accomplish a certain task, especially if it has to do with realism, it's usually going to take longer. Yeah, broke the tip. I'm using this AF Matte pencil sharpener. I don't know what the actual brand is. I don't think that AF Matte's the brand, but it might be. It's designed for artists. It has 2 different size settings, and it's designed to have different lengths for the tip. That way you can do what I was doing there. Right now I've got actually in the lowest setting, so there's only, it doesn't make the tip too long. I don't want the tip super long, plus that uses up more of the charcoal. I don't need it that long. As I've been doing different tigers and stuff like that, and lions and other big cats and things with fur, they would keep coming out like, why does it look so fake, or why does it look so cartoonish? I thought I got the proportions correct, because that's usually the first key. Is if something's off, it's proportions. How big is the head to the body? How big are the eyes within the body or within the head? How big is this, like the paws, stuff like that? Usually if you have bad proportions, it's going to look cartoonish, because that's what you do in cartoons. You emphasize certain things, but you do it purposely, not accidentally. If you want something to look like you want a certain design to your cartoon that you're going to make, you may want to emphasize, if it's going to be a lion, maybe you emphasize the mouth. You make the muzzle wider. Maybe you emphasize, like, maybe use different shapes rather than kind of there's rounded shape that's pretty common within the muzzle. You make it, you almost make it angled and squarish. But that's you purposely doing it. When you're first learning art, there's always people who will say the same thing about, you need to get out the bad drawings before you get any of the good drawings. Meaning you're going to make lots of bad drawings that just don't look right. And it's because you're learning. Much like when you're in preschool, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, things don't always look the way you want them to look, or it takes you longer to figure out the math or whatever it is. Well, that's because you're still trying to learn it. You don't already know it. When you're first doing art, you're trying to learn it. It's not one of the things that you automatically know everything about. Even if you have like what would be called a natural gift towards it, it's still only going to get you so far. You still need to work at it. Even if you're given a single talent or 5 talents or 2 or whatever, you still have to go out and increase that. You've got to increase the talents in that area or create new ones. You've got to actually work at things. And there's some things that are more analytical, where you just have to figure out the process. Programming can be that, but even programming can have some aspects of creativity. And you also have things that you have to try to figure out, like, stop saying like so much. You have to figure out, alright, the company wants me to create a Android app or iPhone app that allows the user to go on to their account, and let's say it's a banking account, and then they use the app to pay their next bill. You may think, alright, I need to be able to, so I need to code it so that they can actually sign into their account. I need to code it so that it can connect to their bill and these things. You have to figure that out. You have to actually engineer it. In essence, you're a software engineer. You're engineering the software to accomplish the task. A mechanical engineer might have to engineer something to, let's say, it needs to use the water pressure to actually move this part of a knob, this part or that part. You're engineering things. With art, you're creating something that you want at least people to think about. It doesn't necessarily mean it's beautiful in the sense of a lovely landscape. It may be that it's like, what's that one painting where the guy, like some of the I don't remember what the term is, but impressionistic type things where it's more trying to express an emotion. Sometimes they don't look all that appealing, but you get a feeling from them. You get an impression that, okay, something's going on here that I don't like, or it's showing frustration, or that sort of thing. That is, in essence, a little bit more, that can also be a little engineering. How do I use the art process to create this expression? This arm actually has some white on it. I mentioned softness and hardness of the charcoal. Soft charcoal, you usually get a lot darker things. The softer it is, the harder it is, because pretty much the softer it is, the easier it is to get into the paper and stuff. At least it's my theory. I don't know the exact science of it. But the harder it is, to really come off onto the paper. And so you don't have as much getting on there, so it's lighter. I also find the willow charcoal and the vine charcoal, I mean, they're literally a piece of willow that they put into an airtight thing, into an airtight container inside a kiln, or just into the kiln without the air. And without the air, it gets the heat, but it doesn't get the oxygen to actually ignite. So the heat still transforms the element into carbon, the different elements of the wood into carbon, without actually having it burn. This is supposed to be the lightest, so I don't want too much of that. I just want enough to give some color. Not color, value. What was that thing called? A tortillon stump. I still like calling it tortellini. Then again, I haven't had breakfast or brunch, so I'm actually a little hungry. I know usually right here has some white going on it. I don't see that in the reference. I think it's right because it's in shadow, but I don't want to make it too bright. But again, I'm not trying to follow the reference exactly. Just give the impression. Notice I was able to bring up a lot of that charcoal, but there's still some that's going to be dug into the paper. So you don't want to overdo it. If you want to be able to erase, go with a light hand. And that goes with colored pencils, what I learned. I was never very good at them, still learning about them. But I'm like, they never seem to erase like other people can do. Stop saying that. So I got a little book at the library about colored pencil techniques, and it talked about just using a glaze. In watercolor, a glaze means you put down a color, you let it dry, completely dry, and then you do a wash over that. In a wash meaning you do a very thin, light thing over that, and you let that dry. If you try to do it when it's still wet, it's going to mix together. If the bottom part is dry and you just quickly go over it, and you don't scrubbing, you keep doing this with your brush. So you keep rubbing the paper with your brush. That's going to eventually pick up the color underneath, because watercolor and gouache, which is an opaque watercolor, both of those will actually pick up the color that's underneath it. Because it's a water-based medium, it means that the water will actually reactivate the color. It'll bring it back up. Some of it will still be kind of stained in the paper and you can't get that out. But for the most part, it can come back up. And so if you don't want that, then you don't want to scrub. You want to do a quick, just brush it over once, maybe a little bit more, and then let it dry. Well, you can do, I didn't realize, but you can do the same thing with colored pencil. What I'm using here is just a piece of charcoal, kind of like the vine charcoal or the willow charcoal, but I'm using my hand. I usually like to use a holder because I don't like getting my hands all charcoal-y. Body's not supposed to be the focus, and so I'm not doing too much, but I still want it something there. Yep, I just put this thing out of it because I keep trying to do the bottom part, and it keeps going off the cardboard right there. And that's getting a little annoying. I am putting my hand all over the thing, but I'm also doing it on the body. I'm trying not to touch the face. Your hand can have oils and stuff like that that can affect it. You can leave little spots in the paper. But as long as the face comes out good and the body comes out at least halfway decent. I've done some where I wasn't paying attention to the proportions, and the body made it look like that cat had more food than he knew what to do with, and well, you get the idea. I'm like, yeah, I should have been a little bit more careful about the proportions. But then again, I was also still learning proportions from it, and I still don't quite have the body proportions. I still have to use reference to make sure I'm doing it right. Anyway, as I was saying, like with colored pencil, you can do washes. You use the colored pencil very lightly, just to get just a little bit of color onto the paper, and then you do a different color on top of that and stuff. And with colored pencils, it's not going to bring up the color underneath. Can you still see that? I forget. Hopefully that was still on the camera. Try something with the body. Careful, don't touch the face. Oops, that's way. Then again, trying to give it a little bit texture. Let's do the white around the eyes. Do the eyes and then do the stripes. In the reference photo, I have the reference photo made into black and white since I'm just doing this in black and white. And there's some pretty white areas on this tiger that the sun's just hitting just right. I mean, the white fur is already there, but if the white fur is in shadow, it's not going to be quite as bright. In this case, it's pretty bright in the reference. So I mean, the shadows aren't quite over the white. Some areas they are, like down there. One thing I still need to do is the stripes. You can't forget the stripes on the tiger. That's one of the major things that makes it a tiger. I mean, this looks like a tiger even if you don't have the stripes, just because that's what I found with the big cats. Proportion. A tiger and a lion's proportions are very similar, but their shapes are a little different. The tiger's muzzle has a little bit more roundness to it. If you look at watch video of a lion, and then go and watch video of a tiger, and those, like, good quality video, and then look at the muzzle. Look at the head and look at the different shapes that make it up. You'll find differences. This also helps to kind of figure out how to draw a tiger out of your head compared to a lion, or like a cougar, which is also known as a mountain lion, or puma, or a cheetah. Those things. It's these little differences, proportions, some of the shapes, but mainly the proportion. You take a tiger, you shrink down the muzzle. The width of it a little bit, shrink that down a little bit, shorten the length from the eyes to the end of the muzzle, shorten that down, and you can make a cheetah. You do that. I don't know how the difference of a cheetah's size compared to a cougar. Cheetahs are a little bit bigger in the sense of lengthwise. I don't know about their muzzle and head, but still, like, these different things are what you can do to make something look like a cheetah, a tiger, or a lion. And one of my pencils has the lead completely broken out of it. But anyway. And it still has the lead broken out of it. Yeah, forget it. It's going to get eaten up with that pencil sharpener. I'll just use other ones. This also gives a little bit of a texture. You want to keep the texture, you don't necessarily want to blend it then. You still get a little bit of texture showing through, but if you want to keep it really dark, stuff like that. But I don't like anything too harsh. So this one's a hard one. This is a pencil holder. This pencil's tiny. That's all that's left of it. So I use this holder. Use as much of the product as I can until it's just too small to use anymore. And then use this one. Use the eraser because that's a little too harsh. Then use this like this. Yeah, that white's a lot more vibrant on the camera. I know underneath in the front there's usually some white or fur. But in this case it's all in shadow, so you don't really see it very well. Now it has like little stripes. Now let's do the stripes. Now you gotta remember the stripes are furry, and so they're not just don't go following the line exactly. Be a little outside, a little inside. One time where you can color outside the lines. The lines are just guidelines. You could also probably use your eraser, try to give it a little bit more of a fur feel. There is a little bit here. Oops, I'm getting a little too out of the camera. Need to be aware of that. Not a whole lot in this arm, just next to it. But I can't even see where the old stripes that I drew were, so I'm just doing. You don't need to follow exactly every single stripe on the thing, and you would actually go crazy trying to do that. Maybe not go crazy, but you don't need to do that. Just give the impression and give it like. And certain spotted cats, there is a certain way the spots go, and so if you want it to have a, if you want to try to, you do want to follow that. in the stripes, there is some things like where, like on the body, they actually act a certain way. Some will go all the way down, some won't, some will stop part way. But I like just to keep them separate. I've tried some all the way down and I don't like the way it looks. So I usually don't do those ones. I keep them separate. Now that's done, let's find one of my softer charcoal pencils. One of my softer ones is the one that the lead keeps breaking. Yeah, I think the lead's stuck in there. See, do I have a... Yeah, I'll do it here. If the lead's stuck, I take a regular 2B pencil that you got at school or something like that. You push that down and hopefully it will grind out the stuck lead out of it. At least that's what the instructions told me. Well, it just said use a hard pencil. And use a hard pencil and then push it down and it should grind out that lead. Because I want this to be nice and the spots, or I mean the stripes, to be nice and dark. No, there should be a few more here. This part has just a few more. And let's actually do that. These Marco ones, but I don't know what the hardness is. It doesn't at least say. Here's a soft one. Do I dare try to sharpen it? Because yeah, they're pretty sure there's lead stuck in there, so I'll just use this as is. You notice soft, and it instantly goes down darker because it's soft. You can more of the charcoal rubs off onto the paper, making it a lot easier to get it a nice dark color. For initial drawing, I like to use the hard. I don't like using the super soft because I don't want the drawing to be too dark, especially if I need to correct things. Which, yes, professionals erase. They're not perfect at their drawings. They erase, they use reference. So once I'm done with the stripes, I think that'll be the end of this video. I hope you enjoy. If you do, let people know, or if you can see things that you think would make it better, let me know. Main thing is let people who maybe look for an illustrator or concept art know, because that's the main reason I'm doing this. But hey, if I got enough viewers, it'd also be good too. Time for the whiskers. And there she be. Tiger and charcoal. Oh no. One more thing. Do that. There. Hello. I forgot to do the eyes. So this is not the end of the video. I gotta do the eyes. The way I'm gonna do them. Using what's left of the charcoal on this thing. And then I knew there was something I was forgetting. There's that. Where was that one that was this one? I even signed it already, but then I realized, hey, I didn't even do the eyes. Gotta do the eyes. Go to this. There's that, and then a little highlight. There. Now it's done. Okay, now the video is done. The tiger is finished. I did the eyes, which I completely forgot. Though this, I want this one out a little bit more. It actually shouldn't be going up. This isn't a woman with makeup doing eyeliner. This is, where is the dark one? Right here. There. Now this video is finished. You know the usual. If you like, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your neighbors. Anybody who's at all interested in watching somebody do art or learning a tip here or there. And if there's things you want to see, let me know. I also do Let's Plays, pretty much anything creative. I also write music. I have yet to do that in a video yet. I won't write a whole song, but I'll show you the process. Anyway, well, thank you very much. And this is me signing off. Adios. Goodbye. Annyeonghaseyo. See you later. And bye-bye.